Yule mgeni ambaye kwamba tulikuwa tumekwambia atakuwa anakuja ni wakili. Wakili huyu ambaye tutakuwa naye hapa ni wakili Titus Mutugi, advocate of the High Court. Na leo tulikuwa tumesema tunakwenda kuzungumzia KQ,
yes,
shirika la ndege hapa nchini. Hii story imekuja kwa sababu moja kati ya viongozi hapa nchini ambaye ni Mili Odhiambo alitumia shirika hilo la ndege kusafiri. Lakini akasema, aliandika mtandaoni kwake, kuandika huwa ndo tunasema umesema wewe, kwamba ingekuwa mimi nasafiri na hii ndege kwa sababu mimi ni Mkenya. Lakini ingekuwa si Mkenya angesafiri. Alisema ni pathetic. So kumaanisha huduma zake ni mbaya. Ni mbaya, tuseme mbaya, si hafifu, ni mbaya. Yaani ukiona mpaka mheshimiwa ukiona mpaka mheshimiwa amefikia hiyo level
ukweli.
Ukiona mpaka mtu bado ana complain na yeye ni mheshimiwa, lakini anatumia kwa sababu yeye ni Mkenya, which anayo nguvu ya kukataa kutumia. So kwenye taarifa nyingine ambazo kwamba zinahusiana na shirika hili la ndege ni kwamba ili shirika mara mwisho kutengeneza faida ilikuwa mwaka 2024.
Yes.
Mwaka jana hasara
mara tatu.
Because
2024 it was 5.4 billion.
Yes.
And in 2025 it was 17.1 billion loss.
So tukiachana na hayo mambo ya hasara, tuje mwaka 1996. Hilo shirika ilikuwa inamilikiwa na watu wengine. Ilikuwa privatized.
Yes.
And then kufikia hapa tulipo hivi sasa, government ndio the highest shareholder. 50.1 ilikuwa up from 48%. Lakini pia kuanzia mwaka 2017 KQ Lenders and Company 38.1% in consortium ya 10 to 11 local banks. Yes. Wako hapo. Kikubwa leo tunataka kuzungumzia kwa sababu ya hasara ambazo Josh amesema zimekuwa zikipatikana kwa muda mrefu. Faida ilipatikana mara moja tu, tena si eti nyingi, kidogo sana, mara moja.
Yes.
Na serikali kwa National Treasury washawahi chukua hilo deni, something around 93 point something billion. Almost 100. Wakajitwika kwamba sasa hii wacha tuibembeleze. Sasa tunabembeleza lakini hasara ni nyingi. That's why tunafika mahali sasa tunauliza, wakati umefika tuirudishe tena kwa mikono ya watu.
Yes.
Ili shirika lianze kutengeneza faida. Is it time sasa to privatize
yes.
KQ once again. Na ndo maana sasa tumemleta wakili hapa tuje tuzungumze hili. So karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Nianze
kwa kujitambulisha. Yes.
My name is Titus Mutugi.
Yeah.
An advocate of the High Court. I practice in Mombasa. I practice for about 6 years now. So when I got the invite to come talk about the issue of KQ, I was very excited. Manake ni hoja ambayo inatuhusu sisi wote.
Kabisa.
KQ is a symbol of national pride. And in fact, the slogan yake ni Pride of Africa. So when we talk about KQ, it's a very sensitive issue. It is a national asset. It is a link between us and na uko nje.
Yes.
So it's a very strategic asset that needs to be taken care of. So when I got the invite to speak, the first thing that came to mind was this issue of privatization. Yeah. As you said, it is not the first time ambapo tumenda that direction ya privatization.
Yes.
As you said, in 96 there was that I think it was KLM.
Yes,
Yes.
KLM, yeah.
Ufaransa.
Yeah, yeah.
Ambayo ilipewa a bit of shares to try and regularize the issues.
26%.
So 26% at the time. It still has a small share, lakini imeenda ikididimia kidogo. If you look at the current shareholding, imebaki I think about 7% or 8%.
Now akili, before tuende huko kwenye hizo data statistics na nini, yule msikilizaji ambaye anakusikiliza hivi sasa atataka kujua hii privatization, huu ubinafsishwaji ni nini kwanza, ajue what's happening. Maneno yanatajwa na wanasiasa, yanatajwa na wanahabari, yanatajwa na watu ambao kwamba ni wawekezaji na vitu kama hivyo, lakini yule msikilizaji, huyu mtu Mkenya wa kawaida, what is privatization?
Privatization, let me start by saying what it is not.
Yes.
It's easier. Okay. It is easier to say what it is not. Privatization haimaanishi kwamba tunapeana kwa foreigners.
Okay.
Haimaanishi hivyo. Privatization is actually the running ile management. Yani ni kama tunawapa watu wengine ambao labda wako na ule ujuzi ama wako na ile experience.
Tuseme kwa ufupi tumeshindwa kuendesha.
Yes, exactly. So what we're doing is like we are looking for someone else who has the expertise to run it in a better way to make it a bit profitable.
All right.
So si kama tunauza ni kama ile there's a lot of connection ya sovereignty around it as a national asset. So kuna that misconception that privatization means tunapeana basi tunaiuza kabisa. So it's about bringing in expertise. It's about bringing in watu ambao wako na ule ujuzi wa kuendeleza. Maana sasa kama ambavyo tunakubaliana, ile management ni kama imeshinda KQ. The KQ management is not able to manage it in a profitable way.
Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, we're talking about it being first privatized in 1996, and then now we're in this situation 30 years later.
Yes.
Exactly 30 years later. And are we saying that privatization didn't work the first time, or is KQ not operating in its full potential because the government stayed too involved? Because now we are in a situation where you're saying privatization is getting now the skills externally that are required to run this entity. Was the government's over-involvement the predicament of KQ at the moment?
Just to give a small background,
yes,
ndo tuelewe where this issue ya privatization inatokea. I know one of the issues is why now. Mbona hii hoja inaletwa wakati huu?
Yes.
We are aware that kuna kitu inaitwa IMF.
Yes.
International Monetary Fund. Yeah. And we have a loan. Kila mtu anajua tuko na madeni.
Right? Tuna deni kubwa sana. 12 trillion.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Around about
tunaambiwa wamelipa 4.
Yes.
Okay.
So the issue of privatization has come from the loan program with IMF. IMF imeambia Kenya, look, we cannot continue pumping funds to you without there's no show of sustainability.
Yes.
There is no accountability of the money. And na accountability boils down to the issue of Kenya or the government having to bail out KQ all the time. So the fact that all these issues are interrelated.
Okay.
KQ is not being managed properly. It's not making profit. So the government has to step in. Ifanye nini? Wa bail out. And most of this bailing out or pumping money into KQ, it's not even for development issues. It's not for improvement of infrastructure. Most of the money goes into recurrent expenditure, about salaries and whatnot, just to keep the lights on, right? That is the situation. That is how bad
now.
Yes, that's how bad the situation is.
Ni kukate kauli hapo.
Yes.
But tukiangalia the structure, naweza sema structure ya ownership as of now, April, ni government wana 50.1%. KQ Lenders and Co 38.1. Hapo ndani kuna local banks 10 to 11.
Yes.
And then Air France KLM yenye umetaja imeshuka from 26 to 7.8
Yes.
percent. And then minority shareholders ni 4%. Hapo includes employees and private individual investors.
Yes.
Wako hapo. Now majority shareholder ni serikali. Does it mean kwamba serikali ndio imeshindwa kuran?
Ningependa kuongezea na kusema we have rivals like Ethiopian Airlines that remain 100% state owned and are still highly profitable.
Yes.
Why has this model worked for them but has struggled for KQ?
So because you there's a point I was leading to.
Yes.
Let me just answer them
Okay.
them together. Yeah? So the issue of IMF coming in and saying, look, you have to do something about this. We can't keep pumping money into the country, and then the country now, the government pumps money into KQ, and KQ is not making profit. So there's no ROI, hakuna return on investment. So just to link that with what you've asked with ET, Ethiopian Airlines,
Yeah.
being fully government owned, the issue of now management has to stem from the government, because KQ is government owned.
Okay.
50%. That means the control is from the side of the government. So the government cannot run away. The government, you cannot separate the government from KQ. It's the same people, right? The government has come with money. It keeps pumping that money into KQ. But then what does the government do in terms of making sure that this money works, and maybe KQ can come to a profitable status? So the government cannot run away from the issue of why KQ is going down. So there's an issue. I was listening to, I think, a former manager, anaitwa Dan Okwiri.
Yes.
And he was saying the biggest problem at KQ is mismanagement. Right?
Yes.
The biggest problem is mismanagement. So we can pump in all this money as all the time, but if it is not being managed properly, then we're going to remain in the same situation. So regardless of whether it is government owned or not, there's that issue, there's that background issue of mismanagement of funds.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, kuna she's called Anita Nani, the Auditor General.
Yes.
Auditor General last year did a report on KQ. And akasema most of the money that is coming into KQ, that money that the government keeps pumping in, there's no accountability. Hakuna documentation how this money is being used.
Yeah.
Or there's no accountability. So it's just pesa inaingia
Ikitoka. Inaenda wapi?
So I'm not able to I'm not able to state for sure where the money goes, but of course, as I stated, most of this money goes into recurrent expenditure.
Yes.
Ile ingine, I don't know.
So on matters of expenditure, when we talk about privatization, we are thinking of restructuring.
Yes.
And there will be chances of a mass layoff of the employees that are currently working in KQ. So what are the legal measures that are put in place to protect those employees from a mass layoff?
Every time there is a change of management, the same situation is happening with Kenya Pipeline. And because they are at that advanced stage of privatization, because KQ is not the only entity that's being privatized.
Yes.
So what the union has done, the employees union for KPC, they have raised that issue because we want to know, even in as much as we are privatizing to improve maybe the infrastructure, to improve the service to the members of the public, what happens to the employees?
Yes.
So there's a thing, the Privatization Act provides for what you call a privatization proposal. That proposal has to be prepared and actually shared with the National Assembly, one of the issues in that proposal is how that privatization is going to affect the employees. Before that proposal can be assented or maybe can be approved by the National Assembly, we need to receive views from the public and the stakeholders, particularly the workers union of that particular sector. For instance, I think the civil aviation workers union, of course, they have to bring their own issues to the table as far as the issue of employees is concerned. So even before we move to the point of now we're saying yes, KQ has been privatized, if that actually happens, there are steps that need to be taken before we get to that point. One of those is, as you've said, is that issue of how is this going to affect the employees. And as you know, there is a lot of risk in terms of layoffs, the redundancies of the employees. So of course that now goes down to the issue of bargaining power of the unions. So they have to represent their members, of course, in terms of their rights. So that they say if the proposal that you're tabling before Parliament is not taking care of the employees' issues, then we're going to raise an objection to it. So there's still an opportunity for people who don't feel like their interests are being taken care of in the privatization process to raise that issue before we get to the point where we say, yes, let's privatize KQ.
I think earlier on, Salim mentioned the government absorbing the debt that is crippling KQ. We're talking about approximately 146 billion Kenya shillings to make KQ attractive to buyers. Now, this is one of the steps that the government is outlining that they want to take before privatization. Yeah. The Kenyan taxpayer, because this money is from...
It's huge.
It is ours. Ni kitu yenye mimi natoka ushuru. Na there's a trend of a lot of taxpayer money just going up in the air.
True.
So do you think it's a good idea for the Kenyan taxpayer to clear the tab one more time when we are still unsure about KQ as a product with all the challenges that it's still facing? Do you think that should be the first immediate solution to absorb the debt through our taxes? Yet the challenges are still in the mismanagement, in the work culture, and in all of that.
There's no straightforward answer to that question because it's very loaded.
Yes.
Ni swala nzito sana.
Yes.
But from where I sit, I think before we can embark on the privatization process, the reason why I started by mentioning IMF is just to lay a background and maybe for the discussion to say that this decision of privatization is not really ours as a country.
Okay.
We are being pushed.
Yes,
That's
by circumstances.
Yeah.
And these circumstances are because of the national debt. And IMF wamekuja katuambia, you guys need to sort out your issues. And one of the issues is that these state-owned bodies or parastatals or corporations, they are not bringing anything. In fact, what you're doing is that you're collecting money from IMF and you're
pumping it into the
parastatals. So for us to dig ourselves out of this hole, there are things that you need to do.
Okay.
For you to get those investors, those foreign investors, you have to, paka mafuta kidogo. Now, hii kupaka mafuta is very expensive. And for us now to attract these foreign investors, we have, the government has to take a hit. Because without that, taking up that debt, then we are probably not going to attract any foreign investors.
Swali la Josh ni kwamba unajua tunatumia hela ndefu.
Yes.
Amesema 140 but yenye kuna 93 hapo 0.7. Tunatumia a lot of money kurembesha kitu. Unaelewa? Ndio kimvutie Titus.
Yes.
Ndio aje anunue. kwa nini tusiende tu kwa Titus tumwambie cheki hii kitu imetushinda. Sasa wewe njoo rembesha, fanya utakavyofanya. Kwa nini tuingie tena gharama? Sawa, tunasukumwa na IMF huku. Sawa, kwa sababu ya madeni yetu ambayo tumechukua bila mpango. Madeni tunachukua, tunakuja tufanye project hazionekani na pesa pia haionekani. So tunatumia hela ya mlipa kodi kurembesha kitu ili kimvutie Titus aje akichukue akiendeshe vile ambavyo sisi tumeshindwa kukiendesha. Alafu msikilizaji atataka kujua 1996 ilikuwa kwa mwekezaji. What happened kwa huyo mwekezaji wa Ufaransa mpaka share zake zikapungua kutoka 26 zikazama mpaka zikafika 7.8. Huyu ambaye tunamtaka Delta sijui whatever sasa hivi ambaye tunammezea mate, tuna uhakika gani tutampa hayo mazingira ya kwamba akishapewa hizo shares mpya whatever percentage yenye atapewa hakutatokea kitu kile ambacho kilitokea kwa KLM.
And also adding that the National Treasury has been acquiring stake mpaka saa hii imefika 50.1%. So was the first privatization a facade or what is really happening? Is it like a safety net? Is it like a fallback? When they eventually get the investors, the government still will be in control.
To start off with the 1996 issue,
Yes.
KLM, and nambona hiyo share yao
Imedidimia.
of course, we're not strangers to the running down of KQ, right? And the increase in shareholding by the national government has been an attempt to maybe steer the ship or the plane, right? In this instance, and most of the times, because shares are based on equity, right? And equity, I mean that you if I pump it, for instance, let me just use an example of a company so that it's easier. Kuna kampuni, for instance, you have your director of a company.
Yes.
Na mimi, you owe me money. So instead of you paying me money, some of this transaction, money does not change hands. Iko kwa vitabu tu, because you can actually convert debt into equity.
Yes.
Without actually paying money, which is what the government is actually doing, and that is why the stake keeps rising.
Okay.
Right? So you owe me money, you have a company and you're doing business, right? And I want that money, but you don't have that money. So I come to you and I tell you, look, for me to get back my investment, I want a stake in your company. So unipe nini? Shares, 50%. So that I'm also able to run the company. Any profit that comes in, mi nachukua zangu, najilipa.
Yes.
So that is the same model that the government is trying to and that is why you see that issue of the 50%, it keeps on raising.
Yeah.
So, and that has been brought by the issue of KLM, the issue of mismanagement for that time. From the time KLM came into the picture, of course things zili improve kidogo. But as you know, the culture of Kenya, sometimes after you mkishazoeana and then you revert back to the same bad habits in terms of economics and management. So the issue of these funds, it's an issue of equity. It's not really an issue of money. Because at this time the government does not have that 100 million.
Because wanasema
Yes.
Rescue plan
Yes.
ilianza 2017. Kwanzia hiyo 1996 things were good.
Yeah.
So
For
shares,
like a decade.
shares za KLM zilianza kushuka kwa sababu ya rescue plan ya 2017 ambapo local banks, as you are saying, wali convert debts zao into equity, ikadilute shares za KLM. So why does that happen? And what if the same thing now happens kwa huyu mtu mwenye serikali wanamuinda as now wameshamrembesha KQ na whatever money they've used from our coffers, maybe pia ni hizo za IMF pia wamechanganya, wamemrembesha, wanampatia Titus. How are we sure that this thing will work, considering that bado kuna consortium hiyo ya 10 to 11 banks,
the banks.
And then now wakuje wa change into what you are calling equity.
Yes.
So still ni kiribagoji goji kirba. Tuko hapo.
So I believe the two issues, there are two issues, yeah.
Yes.
Ya kwanza ni, of course we can give the work to foreign investors.
All right.
Lakini they also have to play their part, right? Because it will be a contract. Itakuwa ni kama contract. You take over this, uchukue mpaka madeni zetu, turn it into equity. Then we give you 50% or 49 or whatever. Then government baki na kidogo, because the government is not, so it's not like the government is ceding the entire shareholding or stake.
Yeah.
Inawapa tu shares like 40 or 45 or whatever it is that they agree upon, wabaki na kidogo.
Yes.
Right? So the foreign investor, if at all it goes through, they also have their role to play, because what they are doing is that they are coming to try and make it, KQ profitable. So if they fail,
Yes.
for instance, then the buck stops at the government. The government will also do another bailout. Now it will be a vicious cycle. So the issue of whether the government will revert now to taking up the shares again, alafu ianze kuongeza shares zake, like it did in after 96 or 2017.
Yes.
It really depends on whether this marriage works. And this marriage has to work in two ways. The government, of course, has to create a proper environment for the foreign investor to do their job. They also have to seed, because there's a lot of politics also. Because one of the other issues that has crippled KQ is political interference. So if the government stays away and lets the people who actually have the experience in terms of these foreign investors to actually do their job, then there's a chance that it will be a successful marriage.
Yeah.
If that does not happen, or maybe depending on the economics, because sometimes that the national economics, the war in Iran and what those, there are so many other extraneous issues ama zingine ama factors zingine ambazo labda they will not be controlled by this particular marriage.
Yes.
So if it fails, then of course we'll have to revert, because KQ cannot, the government cannot throw its hands. If it actually fails, the government will have to come in and step in, and it's probably pumping more money like it has been doing. And of course pumping in money means shares itaanza kurudi kwa the government.
Kwa serikali.
Yes.
So
yes.
Okay.
sorry to cut you off. Just on that matter, if we bring in foreign investors now and their plan would not to come in and fail, obviously they'll want to make it work.
Yes.
And we fear creating a private monopoly and the killing of the small airlines around here. With that being done, it means the prices now will increase, and the local people in Kenya would have trouble even flying with their own airline. So what does it look like right now when we look at it from that perspective?
Okay. To answer that, I was also listening to, I'll keep quoting him because he makes a lot of sense. The former, I think he was a manager cargo and cargo revenue, Dan Okwiri, and he was stating that in fact one of the other big problems facing KQ is that KQ is not taking up its potential ya cargo. Unajua when we talk about KQ we think
abiria,
passengers.
Lakini pia ni
cargo.
parcel.
Yes, it should be, and that is an area that has not really been tapped in, right? And that's part of the reason why KQ is failing. In fact, I was given an example in saying most of the cargo from Kenya inachukuliwa na Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopian Airlines comes in here, wanabeba mizigo zenye zinatoka Kenya.
Oh.
So either KQ does not have the capacity, or the fleets are not the fleet is not enough, ama ziko grounded, okay, so they are not functioning.
To be grounded. Hapo kwa
Grounded
grounded
means-
ni kweli.
Yes. So there's that. There are so many avenues of collection of revenue that KQ is not tapping into, and one of the greatest one is the issue of cargo. So if you are able to bring someone who's actually going to tap into that potential, then the other issues of the tickets, the air tickets, the passengers will of course be subsidized. Because if you're making profit from other avenues, why would you overcharge for just an air ticket? Yes.
Okay.
All right. Aya, sawa. So kuna kitu hapa Titus ambapo tuende kwenye stock market. I don't know how you're going to answer this or tackle it. Kwenye stock market KQ kuna kipindi ilikuja ikatolewa. Then ika resume back to the Nairobi Security Exchange January ya last year. As of April tarehe 8. As of April tarehe 8. Huu mwezi ambao leo tuko ni jana, that is nazungumzia
Yes,
jana, leo ni
last
tarehe
week.
9. The share price was 6.44. Ikiwa share price ni 6.44, now that KQ imerudi kwa Nairobi stock ni exchange, sije nikasema vitu vyangu.
Yes.
Nilikuwa najua na ile jina la kitambo, Nairobi Stock Exchange. Ikiwa imerudi hapa, does it have any benefit for revival or bado your sell amount does not accumulate to something?
If I get you correctly,
Yeah.
what you're asking is whether kurudi kwa to be listed
Because ilikuwa imetolewa.
ilikuwa imetolewa.
wame-
So if now that it has been listed, are there any benefits
Yes.
that it is deriving from actually being listed?
Yes.
To answer that, I believe so, but in a very small, minute, almost negligible. Because if the company is making losses, because I am not I'll not say I'm an expert in the issues of economics and whatnot,
yeah.
but I'm aware that the listing of companies or parastatals in the
In the
Security Exchange
NSE, yes.
is just a way of raising revenue.
Yeah, okay.
Because once you opt in or maybe you take up shares, of course it's some money that you need. Once, depending on whether the company is making profit or not, then you get your dividends or you don't, or you share in the the issues of now paying back whatever losses. So if the company loses, you also take a loss. So the issue of listing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, I don't think it is
Ina maana nzito.
whether it is listed or not
Still
in the
bad.
current status, it's negligible.
doesn't have
it does
impact.
not it does not have much
Okay.
of an impact. It's just a pride, national pride issue.
Umesema it's just a national pride issue.
Yes.
Okay. Sawa. Moja hapa anasema, okay, nafikiri hilo swali huyu ameliuliza. Swali jingine hapa, if KQ were a private company today, would the government bail it out?
No.
Why?
Because you see, the government can only bail out public
Entities.
The government has no business bailing out my company, for instance, because what benefit does the government derive apart from the issue of taxes? Unless there's a stake that the government has over and above collection of revenue, then the government has no business trying to bail out a private company. Yes. I know probably the reason why that question has come in is that they think privatization means that KQ will become a private entity.
Itakuwa kitu cha mtu.
Yes.
Still bado government iko na shares,
Yes,
so
yes,
it's not
yes,
it's not
yes.
somebody's.
Yes, it's not a private company.
What's the worst scenario if we privatize? What's the worst case if we don't?
If we don't,
Yes.
of course the status remains. Ile
The
status
status quo.
Yes, remains.
Ya hasara.
Yes, yeah, Sarah.
Na
If we don't-
kubeautify
if we don't do
KQ.
that. Yes,
Na
yes.
pesa yetu.
Yes, yes. So if we also don't privatize, I'm not advocating for it because there is still a lot of steps.
Yes.
Now, just to even as I answer that question, even the issue of kama kuna kampuni ama labda kuna airlines zingine ambazo zimejaribu kuprivatize and it has failed, there are very many examples where they have actually embarked on the process of privatization, alafu wanafika mahali, and then maybe they disagree or maybe valuation, because the company has to be valued, or the parastatal has to be valued, the debts and the liabilities. Ndo tujue kama we are ready to take this up. The foreign investor also has to be convinced that this is a proper thing, the risks involved are something that we are ready to take up.
Yes.
So if to answer that question again, depending on whether it actually goes through. If it goes through,
Yes.
well and good. If it doesn't, we remain where we are.
Okay.
An issue of now, and of course that will also have an impact ambayo itakuwa ni kubreach ile condition ambayo imewekwa na IMF.
Okay.
Because IMF has told you privatize. So if you don't get money.
Peaneni vitu vyenu.
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
Tuna break kidogo, tuende tukapate taarifa habari alafu turudi. Kuna swali ambalo ili swali tukirudi unijibu. How is it that the company yenye nataka kupewa is working? For example, whatever we are discussing, ni Delta G Airline something.
Yes.
Kuna Singaporeism hapo, and nishaonyeshwa picha ya uwanja wa ndege na shirika la ndege la Singapore venye iko, and the way they are doing fantastic job vizuri. Why wakija huku washindwe? Now you have to tackle that one tukirudi after the news, of course. Karibu tena hapa kwenye saa ya 4 na ya mwisho kabisa The Breakfast Club Swahili Pot FM. Barisa hapa, Josh the curator pamoja na Shamsa Abdi tuko hapa, lakini pia na mgeni wetu wakili shupavu kweli kweli Titus, ilo jina la pili ni Titus Mutugi. Yes, tuko naye hapa na tunazungumzia tuibinafsishe KQ, shirika la ndege hapa nchini. Tulifanyie privatization kwa sababu hasara leo, hasara kesho, hasara zinaendelea, na mambo mengi mengineyo. Wewe pia una fursa ya kuweza kuzungumza nasi kwa haraka tu kupitia line zetu za simu ambazo kwamba ziko wazi 0732917917, lakini kwenye WhatsApp pale dondosha ujumbe wa kwako kupitia kwa 0700917917. Piga simu tuweze kuzungumza. Titus, kabla tuondoke tuende tupate taarifa habari, nilikuwa nimekuuliza why is it that, because hatuwezi blame, tumeshajua tatizo la KLM lilitokea wapi, kwa sababu ya serikali wa 2017 walianza kurestructure, alafu wale ambao kwamba pia walikuwa wanatoa pesa zao kama mikopo kwa ajili ya hilo shirika, benki zile waona pia wakakuwa na equity. So KLM kidogo wakaona hawana. Hata sasa hivi nimeona taarifa kwamba wao wako tayari pia kuuza sehemu ya shares zao KLM ya hiyo 7.9 kuuza, kwa sababu hawana tena impact na whatever shares wako nazo. So wao pia wanataka kuzipiga bei kimtazamo wao. Lakini swali linakuja pale, kwa nini hiyo kampuni ambayo kwamba itapewa jukumu la kuendesha nao kama vile KLM, kuna wakati tulitengeneza pesa, ilikuwa the pride of Africa kweli.
Yes.
KQ, the pride of Africa, it was real. Hata ilikuwa almost sasa ilikuwa the pride of the world. You understand?
Kweli.
And then sijui mvua ilianza kutupiga wapi, vitu vikaenda south na mpaka tumefika hapa. Why is it that tukimpatia Josh ana run business yake vizuri, inaendelea globally, it is known, it is fantastic, alafu sisi tukija hapa huyo mtu anashindwa kurun that entity to to glory.
Mm.
Why?
Mm.
What do you think is so?
There's a greater issue. Manake, you see, the KQ does not survive in a vacuum.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, true.
Kuna economy. There's a greater economic factors
Yes.
of the country in terms of the kama kuna a proper environment for working, kama kuna political goodwill, kama kuna proper accountability na management of funds. All those issues are very critical to anyone succeeding in the country. Na just to deviate kidogo, in most recent years, umeona so many foreign companies who have set base in Kenya,
Yes.
leaving the country,
Yeah, yeah.
because in no small part because of the tax regime in the country.
Yeah.
So you see those issues of relating to or maybe affecting the economics of the workings of companies and parastatals also affect KQ, right? So hata tukampa nani ama nani atakuja hapa na atakuja survive ama afanye kazi in the same environment that everyone else in Kenya is working under. So the issues that are affecting Kenyans, watch hata kampuni, the issues which are affecting Kenyans will most definitely affect the foreign investor.
All right.
So unless we can change, because they are not messiahs. The foreign investors are not messiahs. They are, in fact, they are pumping in money, right? They are coming to pump in money and they expect returns. So in fact, not to play the devil's advocate, but inaweza fika mahali hata wao
wachoke washindwe, walegeze kamba.
Yes, waambie government, sisi tumeshindwa tu, wewe deal with your
kitu
child. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So there are so many factors that are going to affect even these foreign investors. So but the ball is on the government side, right? So if they decide to actually take up that privatization, then they have to create a proper environment for these people to work and to bring KQ back to profitability.
To its feet.
Yes.
Okay. Kabla Shamsa uingie, kuna message hapa imetumwa. Anasema good morning, this is Makadina. Anasema kindly ask Mr. Mutugi, do we risk foreign control in privatization of KQ? One of them being the loss of national control and even key discussion making aspect that captures our interest as a country, since these discussions will only and or mostly favor foreign investors, and what can we do to ensure that we have a higher stake despite such privatization, because this is our national carrier that we take pride in, simply because we are heading that direction because of the public-private partnership models that are being used in our parastatals currently. Yeah.
Okay, again, very loaded question.
Yes.
So to simplify it,
Yes.
what we need to remember at the back of our minds, as I said,
Yes.
it is a process. It has not been privatized.
Yes. Bado.
It's a process. Okay, and there will be contracts, and there will be proposals.
Bado tunatongoza
ambazo zitapitishwa, there will be public participation. In fact, Kenyans might actually say, no, we are not doing this. Hatutaki. So there's still that option of saying, no, we can't. But that has to be done once we receive those proposals. We look at them. What are they offering?
Yes.
What are we exchanging?
Yes.
What stake will the government still hold on to? Because the government can say, in as much as we are privatizing this, we're going to give them maybe 50%, but we're going to retain 40 or 30. So that's the government oversight will always be there, because it's not like you're for me, it's not the conventional sale where unajua ukiuza gari leo na ushamaliza kulipa deni yote, the car moves to the buyer.
Yes.
It's not the same as what KQ is about to or considering to do. The government will not cede its control over KQ just because we have brought in a foreign investor to do ABCD, to improve the infrastructure, to improve the service provision and whatnot. So the issue of because as we started tulisema ni it's a national asset.
Yeah.
In fact it's a key national asset. Right? So the issues of national security interest, the interest of the country, even the sentimental value of it still has to be retained by the government. So that the government will just be playing an oversight role. Yani ni kama angalie as step aside kidogo in terms of the management. Of course KQ definitely has to have even in the board or maybe in the management board lazima kukuwe na mwakilishi wa Kenya ambaye itakuwa sasa ana represent the views of the government in all the meetings and in all the whatever plans that they make. The government, the voice of the government, which is the voice of the Kenyans, will still be there. Yes. So it's not a situation where we cede all control and say it is labda watu hata wanaogopa labda hata watachange jina yake iitwe kitu ingine ama wa change colors, something like that. So it is an issue of we're bringing in foreign investors to do what we have failed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is to manage.
And does that mean that there's a compromise on Kenya's national interests in terms of that specific entity?
It is a give and take.
Yeah.
Because wewe umesema mimi nimeshindwa kazi na unataka usaidizi. You have to give something. It's just the only thing that matters is how much of it that you give out.
Yes.
Right? So we also need to be very careful how much power we cede to the foreign investor.
Yes.
So that isikuwe ni kama tumepeana yote. And I know that is the greatest issue with the mwananchi. Anafikiria mtauza KQ vipi bana? How do we get, if we want it back, how do we get it? Tukifika mahali useme basi tumefika kwenye tulikuwa tunataka wewe unaweza shuka. How do we go about it? But you see though all those details are in the contract. And the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
And that contract has to be done, and that's why I said it's a process. It has to be discussed.
Yeah.
It has to be open. It has to be taken to the National Assembly for deliberation and approval. So before we get to that stage, these are very critical issues that we are raising, and these are issues that the government has also to listen to the common mwananchi, so that we demystify ama tutoe ile uoga ya what are we actually selling our heritage, because it's like a national heritage. So are we selling a part of it? Next time tutaambiwa tuuze port, next time tutaambiwa tuuze KPC, tutauza nini. So are we selling it in the actual sense of it, or are we getting a partner to come and do stuff that we have over the years
failed
been able to do?
So maybe follow-up questions. So many people are saying the problem is not just ownership, it's the lack of open skies. So legally, can we still privatize a KQ and keep our skies open for competition, or will the foreign investors demand exclusive rights and limit the number of competition that comes in? And with that being said, if we give them exclusive rights, which is when it comes to foreign investors, you look at where you profit the most. That directly affects the common mwananchi, because now we have a limited number of, flights that are coming into Kenya and leaving, and that gives them, again, I'm going back to the monopoly thing. As a mwananchi, is there a legal, dynamics that protects us from giving them completely exclusive rights as we privatize?
Okay, again, the devil is in the details of the proposal and the contract that is eventually signed between the government and the foreign investor.
Yes.
So and in fact the privatization act provides for any person who is aggrieved by maybe the proposal ama the program. Manake kuna program kwanza ambayo ina identify the entities ambazo zitakuwa privatized. After you identify who is going to be privatized, you do a proposal. You do that proposal ambayo inaangalia what is going to be lost. What are we negotiating? What are we losing? What are we ceding in terms of as you said, the issue of monopoly. Is it a monopoly?
Mm.
How, to what extent are we going to give, to cede this power to this foreign investor? So the devil lies in in that contract.
But
And-
as we
and
look at
before-
our situation right now, we are kind of in a desperate position,
Yes.
and that might be the direction we might take.
So you're saying that probably we don't have leverage because
Yes.
we are poor,
That's
because we are in debt. Yeah.
we're in so much debt.
Yes, that might it actually play a very huge part in terms of negotiating for that particular deal. But that is why I was pointing to the Privatization Act, which provides that any party who's aggrieved can actually go to court to seek what we call relief. For instance, if you feel, because a foreign investor is also controlled by the issues of what do you call it? The issues lying around monopolization of maybe services and all that. There are other laws in Kenya that guide how you're supposed to do ABCD in terms of the provision of public services. So the contract is what is going to determine what we get, what we sell out, or what we actually give out. And if Kenyans, because you can't have a contract that is against public policy.
Yes.
And public policy means hatutafinyilia wa Kenya because we have a debt to pay. We will not go against those issues of provision of proper services, because we can't what's the right word for this? We can't give out so much and take very
But
little.
currently, we are backed into a corner. We have very limited options. It's either we don't privatize it and keep using the Mwananchi tax to fund an airport that has been making losses for years and years. And on the other hand, we have an issue whereby we can be faced with monopoly. So it's a matter of which is a lesser evil between the two. And
Okay, the effects of monopoly, because remember, the whole reason why we're having this discussion, or maybe there's this issue being discussed, is how do we get back KQ on its feet? We're not saying this new airline is going to come and take over everything in terms of the routes and the whatnot. We are saying KQ is not living up to its full potential.
Yeah.
So what I think and what I hope the foreign investor would be coming to do is to elevate KQ to that position where, in fact, those routes that we no longer apply, because either the planes are grounded, or maybe there's no enough marketing, ama hakuna enough competition, even for KQ.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's that issue of poor services.
Yeah.
So we are coming to address all these issues. Hopefully, these are the issues you're going to
Poor
address
services.
as a foreign investor. So the issue of monopoly, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with KQ. Kuna airlines zingine,
Yes.
sindio?
Yeah.
Those ones are not going to be affected, because what we're doing is that we are trying to elevate KQ.
Kufikia
Kufikia
standard
your
ya
level ya international.
Ethiopian,
Yes,
tuseme
yes,
Ethiopian
yes.
airline.
If at all, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory manner,
Yes.
if at all the foreign investor comes in, and of course the kuna kuangana teething stage,
Yes.
where you're there and you want to know what's happening. You just landed, you want to peruse the books, you want to see who's responsible for what, nini kupanga panga. During that time, there's what you call the transition period. Of course, the services are going to be affected before they now rein in everything together, and then they tell us maybe in 2 years, okay, tumekuja, tumeona the situation is like this is how we're going to go, right? So before we get back KQ on its feet, of course kuna those teething issues. Those issues are and the point I'm trying to drive at is that the government will not let these foreign investors just do whatever it is that they want. There are policies and there are laws and that these foreigners have to abide by. in terms even if they are wanakuja kutusaidia kuna sheria ambazo hawezi
hawezi kiuka.
Yes.
Okay.
So in those issues of the ones that limit the adverse effects of monopoly come into play. And there's the issue of the competition from other airlines.
Yes.
So we are trying to say badala kutumia the other airlines, why don't we make KQ like impressive enough? And how do we make it impressive? For instance, in my mind, I would think give us proper services.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Because I think that's the biggest issue Kenyans have. Like just the basics. The basics, just give us proper services. So if the foreign investor comes in and is able to provide that, then why not?
Okay. Josh, tunaanza na wewe. Ulikuwa uko na dukuduku.
I think my question is a bit I think I don't want to say far-fetched, but we talked about using the government absolving the debt of KQ over 100 billion. We're also still talking about, because we are receiving feedback for the people who actually use this product. One of the comments that sparked this conversation is Millie Odhiambo using this airline. But when you go to your X, your Facebook, your Instagram, each and every time you don't miss someone complaining about KQ services. So when they're making these deliberations on what they want to do with KQ, be it privatization, be it the changing of administration, don't you believe that it's the main customers who are the citizens of Kenya who use KQ to ply their routes from Nairobi to Mombasa, Mombasa to Kisumu? They deserve a say. And is there any form of public participation that can be used to at least collect feedback from the people in regards to what they believe should be done with this entity? Because as much as it is an investment vehicle for the government, it is still a product that serves the people of Kenya.
Okay. Can I take it?
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the underlying principles of governance under the Privatization Act 2025,
yes,
which was assented to by the president in 2025,
yes,
I think October last year,
okay,
is public participation. And the reason why I put it like that is that everything that has to be done, because the reason why we have a new act, because the last one was in 2023, and previously ile ingine ilikuwa ya kitambo sana, I think 2000 and something. So the reason why we've kept changing it is to get rid of the red flag, not red flag, but red tape, ile bureaucracy, to try and do things faster. On one hand, that is good. On the other hand,
that is bad.
Because you remember the Adani deal?
Yeah.
Of course, Adani deal was not a privatization. Ilikuwa kitu ingine. It was like a private initiated proposal. But when we rush into things go wrong, right? And that's why it's very important for us to take up that issue of public participation. Right? The public participation, of course, plays a very key role. That's why it is in the Constitution. So these views have to be collected, and that's why I told you it's a process.
Yes.
Even now, kama sahi, when because sometimes we also guilty as the public. Sometimes we react after something has already been done. Like ilifanywa lini? When did we decide that we are going to privatize? We are considering privatizing KQ. When were the views collected for us to even come to the conclusion that in generation of the program, we are listing KQ as one of them? Were you ever called to make
that one? Hiyo nitasema tu kweli.
Yes.
Mimi
tumejua after isha kuwa listed amongst the entities to be privatized.
Yes.
Ndio sasa tuna discuss, are we going to privatize it or not? But you see,
but kuna hiyo law yenye napeana
Sorry?
juzi was it last year, history ya
KPC.
president kukuwa na powers za kusema I can nistaki kusema kitu ambacho kitarudi kinifunge, but history ya kuprivatize some entities za government. That was a law yenye aliascend, that is last year, I think October.
That's the Privatization Act.
Hapo wakati wa Raila hapo I think ilikuwa Raila amekufa huku, hiyo nini kasainiwa na ikaleta backlash sana na public. Inampa hiyo what does that hiyo bill that act say in terms of kwamba tunaweza kaa hivi kama hivyo venye tumeamka tu hii na hii ya Titus, hii ya Josh, hii na hii tuta privatize, and then sasa ndio tuende kwa public participation, but they are already listed.
So you see, my point was that even before the listing,
we are supposed to be notified.
Yes, and I believe it must have been done unless we
where
unless we not.
Was it done in secret because we just
that's
woke
why
up and the conversation was...
nazungumzia hiyo act ya privatization.
In fact, I think someone actually went to court regarding the proposed privatization of KPC. But they were talking about other issues like the employee welfare and whatnot. What happens to the employees?
Yes.
But you see, sometimes we react after the fact. Okay, hapo ndo tuna rush kotini, tunasema nini. But you see, it's a bit of it's a sensitive issue because kama sasa hivi decided to go to court, we'll be told there is no proposal yet. So at what point, and that's why the issue of transparency and openness on the side of the government is very important. So that even before we make this life-changing, because this is life-changing decisions for the country as a nation, before we make or embark on those kind of life-changing decisions, we need to involve the public,
the people.
Right? And that's why public participation is very important, so that we collect the views of the people who are going to be affected. Because at the end of the day, sisi ndo tunalipa ushuru. Now that money, sometimes we're not asked. When the government is pumping in money, the National Treasury does not come to you and ask you, can we pump this 10 billion into KQ? They hardly ever do that. So this is actually the best time for Kenyans to raise their voices. Especially around the issue of KQ privatization, because it is a proposal, it is something, it's a process. Ile proposal haijatengenezwa bado, na ikitengenezwa lazima ipelekwe, because it has to be gazetted, ndio watu waisome, wajue what's happening, what is being proposed, what are we losing and what are we gaining. Even in terms of the valuation, because a valuation has to be done for KQ for purposes of even the investor looking at it and seeing whether it is viable for us to even actually consider coming on board. So they as you say, and I agree, the issue of public participation is very key. And we also need to put the government to task in terms of tell us what you're doing with our stuff. Because you don't want to hear KQ has been privatized, lakini vitu za chini. And that is why I brought the issue of Adani deal. Part of the reason why it failed is that there was no goodwill from the end, from the government's side. Wanafanya vitu tu
bila kutuambia.
Granted it was a privately initiated proposal, but it is affecting a national asset, and it is good that we also as a public, it's actually fundamental that we as a public are involved in these conversations before the government makes a decision to either cede, lease or sell a national asset.
Because hapa for that the current legal status ya Privatization Act ya 2025 which ilikuwa enacted I think by court, confirmation ya court, but inataka the cabinet secretary akona legal mandate to consult with the public and persons like to be affected the formulation of any privatization program. Lakini the parliamentary oversight hawa ndo wakona mandate sasa ya kuidiscuss and then wakuje kwa public participation. So maybe because we don't hatuendi, so public participation ilikuwa before it was listed. Yeah,
Yes.
ilikuwa before it was
Yes,
listed
yes,
hapo kwa nini.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying sometimes it is not marketed as it should. Peer government sometimes it slacks in terms of going out to the public. Kuambia hata making news.
It is inakwanga kwa gazeti.
Kwa gazeti na mbali hivyo, it's not discussed.
The gazette notice ya government. Yes.
And there was a famous discussion about what public participation actually is.
Yes.
Kuna collection of views, but that is one thing.
Yeah.
Lakini for implementation of those views is a totally different thing. Unaweza collect views zenu hapa, iseme we are discussing this, what is the view on this? But then ikienda huko at the table of making the decision, I disregard your views, but I collected. So I passed the public participation threshold, but then it does not mean that I'm going to
You were just ticking a
implement
box.
your views.
Yeah,
Just
for
ticking
you.
a box. So we need to move that conversation from just ticking the boxes and actually looking and considering the views of the public, particularly on the issues of national assets.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya, so maana kauli yako ya mwisho ndio tukuachilie sasa na ukaendeleze ujenzi wa taifa, na tunashukuru sana kwa mazungumzo haya, lakini pia tunashukuru kwa wewe ambaye kwamba umeweza kuchangia kwa namna moja au nyingine. Tumepata udako hapa. Wewe ni wakili huyu. Asante sana Makadina. Wakili Makadina. So kwa kuweza kuchangia na kuweza kuuliza maswali ambao kwamba umesikiliza chini ya maji pia, lakini wewe kauli yako ya mwisho pengine kuwatoa wasiwasi wa Kenya ama pengine kushauri sasa na your profession way.
Now I believe it is a very important, very fundamental discussion that we are having. Na hii discussion inafaa kuendelezwa mpaka huko vijijini. I remember there's someone who, I don't want to quote names, but it is a public officer, is actually a state officer, wakati wa maandamano. Wakasema, nyinyi, people who don't even use KQ, there's a comment, there's a derogatory comment. Watu hata watumii KQ, mnafanya nini, huko mnaenda kufanya nini. They forget that, and that is the attitude that the state officers, most of them, unfortunately. But that has to change, because we need, for us to be involved. Hatutaki kuwa too involved when we are, making or maybe paying taxes for that tax to be used to bail out KQ. Tunataka kuhusishwa from the top to the bottom.
To the bottom.
What is happening to KQ? Because everyone knows. When I can even at the back of my mind nasikia kale ka wimbo, nakumbuka that song ya ile wimbo ya KQ. Yes. It's very nostalgic.
Yes, sahi na haiko imepotea. It's no longer
because KQ is no longer what we knew it as. But do we let it go?
No, we are not supposed to.
Yes, we are not supposed to. But even as we now try to revive it, we are supposed to be very strategic. We're supposed to be very open, transparent as to what contracts are in place, what proposals have been made, how are they going to affect the workers, right? Because those are livelihoods of people. And most of the times, ukiwa na restructure, the first person who suffers is the employee.
Yes.
So we need to have those open discussions everywhere, because this is a national asset. And demystify the issue of whether it is being sold. Are we selling it off? Are we just getting a partner? Are we getting someone who's going to actually come and do something about it? Is the government, is the goodwill there? Is the political goodwill there? Because that also plays a very key role. Also, the issue of the economic environment, the tax regime. Are they going to survive it? Ama watakuja tu waseme huku
maisha huku ni magumu.
So there are so many factors, because KQ hatutaiacha, I think. We have to bring it back to its feet, but then we also have to make a proper economic decision, which means we cannot continue pumping money into an entity that is not bringing back any return on investment. So then, but then we have to go carefully about it, because this is a sovereign state, and we cannot just auction a national asset, a key national asset, without involving the Kenyans who are actually the owners
of that asset.
Asset.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana Titus Mutugi, wakili, kwa kuja na kuzungumza. Tukianza vitu vingi nilikuwa sijui. Lakini tumemaliza vitu vingi vile ambavyo nilikuwa sijui nimejua. Yeah, so na naamini pia na msikilizaji yule ambaye kwamba amesikiliza ni mazungumzo ambayo yanatakana yaendelee, because at the long run ubinafsishwaji utafanyika. So tujue kwamba inafanywa kwa ajili ya kurevive na tupate the pride of Africa back. Tusikia kwa wimbo tena tukikaona tuione tena kwa shujaa wetu, because wao ndio walikuwa wana sponsor, wanavaa jezi. Ile time wakishinda ilikuwa ni jezi yao wanavaa. So we need to see back vitu kama hivyo venye vinavutia na kupendeza. So asante sana kwa kuja, na wakati mwingine tukikuhitaji inaweza ikakuwa si KQ, inaweza ikawa next time ni SGR, right? Ama SGR railway
ama port.
Port. Hiyo naye hata haziruhusu. That one is untouchable. Wata privatize some parts of the port.
But it starts like that. It starts pole and before we know it hatuna port tena.
Simuwe na hope kidogo. Wata privatize microphone, wata privatize studio. Anyway, asante sana. Tunamwachilia Titus hapa wakili aondoke, lakini sisi tutakuwa na wewe kwa minajili ya kuweza kumaliza kipindi The Breakfast Club muda si kitambo.